So I've been full-time at this for a dozen years now.
For quite a while,
Wow.
yes.
That's a lot for a 28-year-old.
Welcome to the Two Authors Podcast, an entertaining chat show hosted by best-selling mystery and thriller authors Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey, in lively, humorous and informative conversation with distinguished guests who share their thoughts and experience about forging a successful author career.
So welcome to this week's show, brought to you as always by Vellum, the best formatting solution in the world.
Vellum.
Vellum's awesome. Love them. So you're using them. Hey, you've been doing them a lot, right? You've been doing your translations in them, right? Like I did a few of mine too. So
Yep. I've been banging out the Nora series in Francais. So I've talked before about, you switch the language. So, because I'll be going back and forth between the two. I'll have multiple Vellums open or what have you. So when you're in the French, you go up there, select the language, select, hey, French, and all the little red lines under the word spelled wrong go away. But also a little nugget.
That's what it does. It fixes all the spell check. Look at that.
So also a good thing to do is in any images you have, there's a description for accessibility. So it's important to put something in there, right? Because if there's someone's is sight impaired, it will read it to them and it will read that description. So it's worth going in there. So I always do it in my books. But then in the foreign language, in French, what you have to do is go get that translated. So use your translation software, DeepL, if you're just going for it, or ChatGPT, anyone will translate it for you, and bang it in there. Make sure you do that in the, so if you click on the image when you're in Vellum, it gives you the accessible description for accessibility, and make sure you do that. And don't just put the English in there when you're doing the foreign translations.
That's right. Do them. Yeah, you want to make sure you cover all of them. So, also a big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. If you guys are finding any value from listening to us, or just you find us entertaining and you're like, I should support these guys, then run over to patreon.com/the2authors podcast. We have all sorts of fun extras in there, but really it's $3 a month. You're just helping out. If you like this show, $3 worth, then we appreciate
Throw us a freaking bone.
Yeah, we would appreciate it. It helps us put out this podcast and come up with fun things and keeps Nick and me,
in sandwiches.
I could go for one of those right now. So, hey, we have a great guest today, though. So you better hold out for just a little bit before you eat, because we're going to have Jane Friedman, who is a publishing expert. She's been in every media outlet like New York Times, The Atlantic, The Today Show, Wired, the BBC. She's also named the Publisher Commentator of the Year by Digital Book World. If you're an author and you aren't subscribed to her newsletter, you're missing out on all of this golden information. Yes, she is phenomenal. So jump over there. She'll go to the show notes, click on her link, sign up for a newsletter. You'll appreciate us.
And there's loads of extras over there too.
Yes, tons of stuff. So let's chat with Jane. Welcome to the show, Jane. It's so great to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to chat with you. So start us off real quick. Just tell our listeners a little bit how you got started in the publishing business and how long have you been independently freelancing?
I started as a college student. I secured an internship at a mid-sized publisher, and I stayed there 12 years. They hired me after graduation. And then I spent a little bit of time university teaching. I spent a little bit of time at a literary nonprofit. And then I went full-time freelance in 2014. So I've been full-time at this for a dozen years now.
For quite a while,
wow.
Yes.
That's a lot for a 28-year-old. So this cracks me up because I saw a note about it on your website too. So indies tend to see you as a trad publishing kind of person, and the trad crowd kind of see you as, well, she veers towards indie publishing. Where do you see yourself sitting on all of this?
I like to be a bridge. So, when I started in traditional publishing, I did a lot of different types of books, but ultimately I ended up at Writer's Digest, which still exists as a magazine.
I've heard of that. Yeah. So,
yeah. And they immediately, from day one, put me on the so-called self-publishing beat, which was very different then than it is today, because there was no Kindle, there was no KDP. This was in, 2001. And I didn't realize until much later this was the least desirable beat to be on. No one wanted to be on this.
You're just excited to be there.
But I thought it was fascinating. And so the first conferences I went to were full of self-published authors, people who were in the very early stages of getting into the ebook market with the Rocket Reader. MJ Rose was really big at the time. Sadly, she's now passed on. But I just found it an innovative, fascinating place to be. And I never stopped paying attention. And I always thought it was underexposed, undervalued. And of course, I think we all know how it's turned out. But I still like traditional publishing. Like, I don't think there's any, like, it has its problems, right? But so does every industry.
I got a quick question. So do you think that, was it just Writer's Digest was prescient enough to go, hey, you know what? We need to start thinking about because 2001, that's a long time ago. I mean, that's before the Kindles were out at that point. Like you said, the Rocket Reader, when you said that, I was like, oh, I forgot about those. So, I mean, like, were they just that prescient? They saw it as being an important thing, or they were just like, we're just going to relegate Jane over here.
Didn't know what to do with the
intern. It into something.
No, it wasn't me. That brand had some really smart people at the head of it. And there were lots of different divisions. So they had the magazine division and the book division and the market books division and the education division. And the people who headed it up, they were very forward thinking. So they had a dedicated magazine for self-publishing before anyone else did. And they also did a book called something like How to Publish Your Ebook. And they did it with an agent, Richard Curtis, who was, again, an innovator in this space. But it was actually too early, way too ahead of the curve, because it didn't really take off until 5 to 10 years later.
That's interesting. I just didn't realize they were even thinking about that early on. So I think that's pretty impressive. So, and I was reading Writer's Digest all the way back, in the 80s. So who knows? There may it's interesting. So, but now you are now the new writers, like, because you offer like this impressive quantity of free resources on your website. I mean, you got classes, newsletters, articles. I mean, how do you decide? And we question this because we also do a little Patreon we've started on the side. But how do you decide what you do as free content and what's going to pay the rent for you?
Anything that's foundational, that's for beginning writers, that I think people need to know in order to stay out of trouble and avoid the predators. Just like, the 101 to getting published, to self-publishing, to marketing, it's all free. The written information anyway. And part of it's my mission. I don't want people to feel like they need to, spend a lot of money just to understand how the business works. But if you want like a formal class, if you want kind of a structured presentation around a particular goal, then you're going to pay a little bit of money. And if you want the advanced business reporting that I do, then you have to pay for my newsletter.
You've worked with a ton of entities in the author realm, and you've got contacts everywhere and what have you. But you write honest reviews on everything. That has to be a tricky space to fall in. I mean, you're very polite. You're a lovely lady, and you're very polite whatever you say about things. But still, there's toes that have to be trodden on occasionally. How do you balance that? That's got to be tricky.
It is, especially because some of these people I do consider colleagues, some of them are friends, but I always try to apply the lens of the author and protecting the author, because I think they're usually the most vulnerable in this equation. And certainly from my time at Writer's Digest, there were even things that we did that I was kind of like, should we be doing this? Like in terms of the advertising that we were accepting. And so we would hear from readers who would be like, I can't believe you allowed this person or firm or service to advertise because they ripped me off, or I spent money I couldn't afford. And that really was formative for me in saying, people trust this brand, and now, they trust my name. And if I put something out there that leads them to believe that, like, my trust transfers. So I have to be really respectful of that perception and the association. So, and I also I try to be sincere. I don't want to blow smoke. I'm not into flattery. So I want to be kind, but I also am not going to pull any punches if something might hurt someone.
That makes it got to be fair. I guess it's important. So you also do like a ton of free and paid classes, like, and you have guest speakers. So I'm kind of curious, if we were looking at some of them, do you choose the subjects that you are feeling are worth addressing, or do some of these guest speakers kind of come to you and go, hey, I've got an idea? Or
it's a mix of both. So I have some repeat instructors over the years who I really trust them to decide what they should teach on because of their experience or what they're just really good at. And then there are other people I notice out who are just killing it on a particular area, on a particular topic. And I'm like, boy, you should really come and teach on that for me because I know there's demand and you seem to have something interesting to say.
Well, and do you ever have, I mean, I guess readers probably also reach out and go, hey, I'm interested in this and maybe, and you're like, oh, well, let's see if we can find somebody who can dig into that. So, yeah.
It's somewhat the same as what we do here. You know, we're looking for what's on a different level, of course, and a far more professional level. But you're looking for what's trending. You know, it's and you kind of sift through like what's the flash in the pan trend and what's actually core stuff that will be interesting to the authors. So, all right, let's talk about your newsletter a little bit, which is magnificent. You have two levels. There's a free level, and then there's a paid level that has some more stuff in there, which I can't imagine how much more that has in there, but I know it does. How on earth do you find all this content to go in there? The other day, you were doing chairs. It was office chairs.
Right. Yeah. All right, I forgot.
Yeah.
The free newsletter, Electric Speed, which is where I was talking about the office chairs, a lot of what's in there is just driven by my personal curiosity and interests. And I've been researching office chairs and struggling with office chairs for so long that it was kind of like I was very excited to talk about what I had found that actually worked after so much failure. And for those who are curious, I finally realized Herman Miller chairs suck and I'm never buying another one.
I read that in there. I'm like, that was so funny.
That's great. So see, she's going to leave. We get the reviews right here in real time. So that's pretty awesome. So,
but with the paid business stuff, I mean, just as you said earlier, you see trends, you see people talking about things or getting heated about certain issues. And I don't have to tell you or your audience, there's a lot of misinformation that gets spread around.
Yeah. Really? No.
There are biases, people who have motivations that aren't always clear. And so I'm trying to sift through all of that and bring clarity to important issues, whether it's AI, Amazon, distribution markets, et cetera.
Well, I mean, it's definitely useful because it helps. I mean, I think it's one of the many tools. I know that Nick and I both read it as far as like keeping our fingers on the pulse of things. It's got so much vital, and it's not the only one we read, but we were out there covering whatever we want to know because things change like all the time. So it's kind of crazy.
It's amazing how quickly in this business things move and change. And when it's a ripple effect, right? I mean, if Amazon is so influential in this world, if they make a small change, that ripple goes out across everybody. So, all right. So we're going to start quizzing you now about stuff because you have a magnificent brain and you have your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on in the author world. So talk a little bit about what you see as some of the major positive trends and influences that are going on today.
One of them I just wrote about, which is traditional publishers increasingly signing self-publishing authors with very flexible deals. Flexible meaning, the author can retain some digital rights if they wish, while they allow the traditional publisher to exploit the print rights. They'll make even 6- and 7-figure deals for their backlist. And this just wasn't really done. Like even 5 years ago, it was tough to find some of these deals. But the industry is changing, and especially in regards to these types of authors. There are a lot of reasons for that. Part of it is the ascendancy of fiction, romantasy, romance. And so a lot of the success you see in those categories, it's driven by the self-publishing authors. And
how strong they're getting, yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, and these are categories that traditional publishers probably wouldn't have published a few years ago, right?
Yeah, they don't have their finger on the pulse as much as the authors do. Looking at, of course, what's working on Amazon, or they're buying the K-Lytics reports that surface data about what's happening in these subgenres. It's really impressive. So that's good. And then the growth of the audiobook market ties into that a little bit because some of the first players to do that were companies like Podium Entertainment, which I believe they launched in 2012, and they started, identifying self-publishing author success stories in ebook and saying, hey, would you like us to do your audiobook? And then, yeah. So, and you also see more just digital only players that are, they're looking at who's trending on Royal Road or, these other little communities that traditional publishers haven't always paid attention to. So that kind of diversity and activity, I think, is good for authors and the overall industry and for readers.
So the big five, most of them now have they all have different publishing houses within them, right? But there's been a pretty big push in recent years for that next level down. They're huge publishers, but they are digitally focused. People like Source Books and Bookouture and stuff like that are tied in with a big house, but they're doing things their own way and more independently minded. Do you think that is it's kind of with chicken and egg, isn't it? Is that driving the hybrid stuff, or is it or are they thriving because of the hybrid stuff? Because they're doing a lot of those deals.
Yeah, I mean, it is a kind of a chicken and an egg thing, but the fact that they're not wedded to the old kind of legacy rules of what a publishing launch looks like, or what formats they need to have, or what the author, how they collaborate with the author is changing, which is again very refreshing. The author comes to the table in the self-publishing space. The author comes to the table often with more knowledge of the reader than the publisher does. So it's nice to see the publishers express some humility around this, that maybe they don't know the market as well as some other folks do.
So like, what are you, I guess, besides the positive things, what are some of the things you're seeing as like areas of decline, the perils that authors are now facing that maybe weren't around 5 years ago?
AI is the big one. I mean, you can hardly have a conversation without that coming up.
That's good. That's our next question. So let's go ahead and bang into that one too. So where does it fall into all of this? So
I feel like it's a new story every day. I have no idea where it's all going to end up, but it's already diluted the Amazon marketplace to some extent. How much does it really matter yet? I don't know how much it's moving, like sales wise, or in Kindle Unlimited, it seems to be having a somewhat limited effect. And here I'm just talking about like purely AI generated material that's uploaded with pen names, people who you're not going to go and get your book signed by them, because they are not going to even say that they won't even own up to producing it.
That's Nick's erotic door shifting
Dragon series.
Series, yeah. So yeah, dragons are cool. Doors, no, not so much.
So I think that it's kind of a wait and see. There's definitely more material hitting the market. It's making it easier for self-published authors to produce material more quickly. Flooding the marketplace with more material is not exactly a path to industry stability. So I'm really curious to see how readers react and respond. I mean, they're ultimately going to decide here, unless Amazon were to do something that would say, all right, we're going to have to protect the marketplace or put guardrails on this. But I thought they were going to do that, but they have not done it.
They haven't yet, no. So it is interesting where we're going to go with all of it, because at some point you think there'll be a tipping point. And I think like we're getting there with those coloring books and low content stuff already, where Amazon's like, nope, we're just going to ban people automatically. But
I find it really fascinating, because if you look at comparable marketplaces for other industries like Spotify, they've put some guardrails on it because they find it damaging to the ecosystem. So I just wonder what is the tipping point for Amazon, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you bring up Spotify, so they have a channel on Spotify now for AI generated music. So they're saying no, not over here, and it can be over there, and no one's quite done that. I wonder if somebody, whether it's Amazon or somebody else, will come up with a AI book and channel. You could do a KU that is AI driven, that you could do it very cheaply. So I feel like it's going to pop up. Now, whether it will succeed or not, we'll see.
I mean, in the audiobook market, that's already happening to an extent. So you've got the synthetic voices. I'm not sure if you can yet filter by that on Audible, but it's at least transparent. You know what you're getting.
Yeah. Then Amazon are going in competition against their own Audible by having virtual voices offered over there. So it's like, yeah, they're not really helping themselves.
Do you think it's competition, or is it just offering a different avenue? Like, so I think is it, like large print versus, regular print. Like, Nick needs large print because he's old, but me, I'm young and vibrant, so I don't need the large print. So maybe I get to stick with the smaller print, but the same thing, like, you can produce an audiobook a lot cheaper with AI. So that means you can sell it for a lot cheaper.
Some folks predict that there'll be a bifurcation where you have the lower priced audiobook, it's AI voiced, and then if you pay more, you're going to get the human voiced one. I don't know if that will happen, but it sounds logical as of today.
I know some author friends of mine that have long backlists, and they're doing their long backlists that they can't afford to go and do human narration for. They're popping them AI narration just so that their followers have a chance to be able to listen to something, and they're upfront about it. Hey, this is what it is. And then their new stuff, they're still using human narration.
Yeah. So it's a fascinating case study that reminds me, there was I think it was a UK author who did a business book, and he speaks multiple languages. And so he's done a lot of media appearances that aren't in English. Someone was able to use those appearances to make a voice clone of him and then generate an audiobook in a different language, and they posted it on YouTube. And he discovered it. Of course, it made him pretty angry, but then he realized this is boosting my sales on Audible. So how angry should I be?
I should be angry enough to get more press and keep people talking about this. That would be how angry I need to be.
It is interesting. There was another author who talked about the pirate. Like people get worried about the piracy sites, and I want to say it might have been Neil Gaiman, who maybe I shouldn't be. He's not necessarily worthy, but I think he said that when he got pirated in Russia, that his sales in Russia started going up. Like, so at first he's like, oh, they just put my books out for free, but then suddenly he saw all the sales going up in that particular. So probably something similar.
So another angle, as we're talking about AI, as you are a producer of content and classes and what have you, do you think AI is going to start changing that for students at all levels taking classes and what have you? Now they can put a query or a question in and get an answer from AI. Do you think that's going to start affecting people like yourself?
Yes. I mean, I would be very concerned if I were a freelance editor or agent starting out today without really having a name yet, without some sort of established business or way to attract clients, because especially if you're at a beginner level, you can go to AI tools now and get, the kind of help that you used to spend $50, $100, $200 getting. It could be query feedback, first pages feedback, proposal feedback. I mean, you do have to have some skill in operating these tools, and the better, more experienced you are as a writer, the more useful the tools get. But still, I do have that concern for people who do a lot of side hustle or gigs with editing and critiquing.
Yeah, I mean, we're using AI as a research assistant, and Doug and I both will run chapters through as a basic copy edit. But I can't at this stage, I cannot imagine that replacing my human editor.
No, not yet at all.
For that touch, that detail, that it's just another layer.
But I think the answer is yet. Like that's, and I think it's also how much you're willing to bear. I think, like, and then knowing you're going to be you want everything to be this way, but there are going to be authors out there who just start off who can't afford $600 and they can figure out how to use ChatGPT, and that's what they're going to start off with. And I can't imagine down the road they're going, well, now I could spend some money on an editor. They're going to decide that's the line they can bear for what they're doing, I believe. So
yeah, I think the one saving grace, and I don't know how long this lasts, is that the models aren't really good at analyzing something that's book length. They're not really going to tell you about how to fix the narrative arc or create suspense. It may be in some small ways, but
it'll tell you, it just won't be right.
Yeah, it's not shy of telling you stuff. I find that my Chat GPT or Claude is apologizing quite a lot.
Don't praise me. Like, you were so smart. I can't believe you thought of such a great storyline. I was like, yeah, thanks. Yeah.
You're right for calling me out on that. As his favorite line. You're correct for calling me out on that. All right. So a different subject. Let's get your thoughts on this one. So Doug and I are both in Kindle Unlimited at the moment and have been. And for me personally, to speak, but I'm stuck. You're at that level where it's 55 to 60% of my income. I'd be taking a big hit to go wide and start over again. I can't really give up that year or two to build, wide. So I'm kind of embedded in there and looking for ways, possibly in different avenues, to branch out and start being wide. But you often hear a lot of doom and gloom about Kindle Unlimited and where it's going. But from, what we see, you look at the numbers and we get paid crap, but per page, but it is increasing and it has steadily been increasing. So it's heading the right way. Where do you see this going? Do you think it's something that's still going to be around for a long time?
I do. Complaints about KU ever since the service launched, there have been complaints. If you look at the trend line of like the pool, the amount of money that they're paying out, as you note, it just continues to increase over time. It has its ups and its downs, but it's still moving in the same direction. And so I have to assume that Amazon's subscriber base for that is steady or increasing. So I don't necessarily see, it's hard for me to imagine it going away unless there were some competitor that came up. And I don't know who that would be.
That would be someone putting in some serious money to take a slice of that market. And honestly, you hate to see anyone monopolizing, but also you hate to see someone coming in and dividing and splitting, because that often just kills everybody's return on it. Yeah.
You see a lot of authors, so I'm curious what you see as the most common behavior that you might classify as, well, that looks productive, but might not be, that authors have.
Yeah, the mud that we get stuck in and spin our wheels.
Yeah, Nick and I call them our rabbit holes when we start working on something that we think is productive, and we'll spend
half
days
a day later.
Yeah, we're like, oh, that was pointless. So.
I see a lot of people trying to build their email newsletter lists in ways that really just attract low quality names, people just looking for the free thing. That's a pretty common phenomenon. This might be more on the traditional side. I don't know that I find self-publishing authors all that guilty of this, but just doing a lot of social media that really has no point to it, because they've been told by whomever, publisher, agent, editor, oh, well, it's time to get active on social media. Your book's coming out. And no one really knows what that means to be active on social media. And so I just see a lot of lackluster efforts. It's like your time would have been better spent doing virtually anything else. It's not that I don't think there's value there, but people have not figured out how to be themselves.
Just to spontaneously pop on 1 month out of the year isn't going to get you a following. You have to be consistently online and doing it, in my opinion. And I am far from the social media expert.
I think the other thing that happens is, this probably doesn't quite align with what you asked for, but I see a lot of people try advertising in one place or another, and they don't try it for long enough, and they don't test it, and they're not thinking about the images and the copy and the ad, and they're not thinking about how that translates into the Amazon landing page for the book. And if, ultimately I hear people say, well, advertising didn't work for me. And it's like, well, I have a lot of questions about why that might not have worked. I'm not saying it's hard, but you can't just try it once and decide it doesn't work.
I think that's some great points in there. Yeah, I think the newsletter point, going back to that, is key, right? It's because it's impatient. We're all impatient. And when you're first starting out, when you see 43 people on your email list, it's kind of like, oh, and you hear about these huge lists, like, how is it ever going to get there? So there's lots of things you can do to grow that. But as you said, it's not quality. It's the same as having all your family members on the email list. When you take that email list and try and turn it into an audience for a Facebook ad, you're feeding absolute garbage. This is not your base. So you have to have patience, especially these days. We've talked about this a lot over the last couple of years, and on the podcast we talked about a lot, is the runway for a new author to get established now is much longer. If we're talking at the indie level, if you're starting the way most of us start, where you've got a book out there and you're so excited, it's a brilliant accomplishment. You've got that book, but where it used to be sort of, hey, get 3 out there and you can really get the ad singing. Now it's more like get 5 or 6 out there to get the ROI. So patience is key. You do a lot of speaking, and I've unfortunately not been at the events that you speak at, but what are most of the things you're doing speaking engagements at now?
It's a mix of writers' conferences, whether it's traditionally published or self-published, or it's industry events where people who are inside publishing companies or they're serving publishing companies, they're just trying to stay current with what is happening and where the ball might go next, or puck, I guess, where the puck might go next.
We have a lot of hockey references lately. Everybody's like hockeyed up. We're just going to be...
We're more into curling. We were using curling references on a recent show, so we can talk about the brooms.
Curling, yes.
I find it's interesting how, I get invited to speak to people about the problems they face, which often have to do with dealing with the market domination of Amazon, the market domination of Ingram, someone who is playing the game in a way that writers or publishers don't like. And so when I speak about, well, here's what to do instead, like sell direct or, think about the creator economy. If you're a writer, have a Patreon. People say, well, I don't have time for that. Like, well, then carry on as you were.
Yeah, exactly. I love that the question is like, oh, well, I don't want to support Amazon, so where can I sell my books? I mean, you can sell them everywhere. Just, are you going to actually make any money? You got to decide, there's always a balance to that. But like you said, it's always like, yeah, but I don't want a Patreon. That's a lot of work. So I don't want to do a Kickstarter. Nah, it's too much. So now, as somebody who goes to a lot of conferences, I'd like to know which ones you think are the ones we should be attending, because I like conferences too. Anything to get out of the house. So see people.
It's sort of a layered question, right? Because it's like, you're a newbie, what should you go to? If you're established, what should you go to? If you're romance, but in generalization, what do you feel are solid conferences?
Well, if you're a self-published author, you should probably be going to Author Nation in Vegas. It used to be called 20 Books to 50K. Now, in full disclosure, I haven't been to one, although I'm going to the one this year in November.
So are we.
Great. We can meet in person. I just hear...
we look forward to it. We just actually chatted with Joe and committed to, I committed to going. Doug was always going, but to drag me off of my island takes a lot. So I committed.
And then the other one for self-published authors I consistently hear good reports about, but I haven't attended, is the Superstars event in Colorado.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never been to that one, but I've heard it's good. So
if you're traditionally published, it just really depends on your goals. But I do often recommend writers don't assume they have to go across the country and spend thousands. It's usually better, in fact, to go to a conference that's in your region or state, so you can network with people who are probably close by. That's where things tend to start.
And I think that networking is pretty important. I'm sure you'd agree. Like, we have a very lonely job. And so if all we did was talk to others, I would alienate a lot of people if I didn't talk to Nick on a regular basis, because nobody wants to hear about my book or talk about books and stuff. Even my wife gets alienated sometimes. So, it's nice to have that outlet where you can talk to people who are, like find your tribe is what I like to say. So,
Jane, this has been absolutely marvelous. Please, please, please keep doing what you've been doing, because the newsletters are fantastic. All the stuff that you have on your website, which we'll link in the show notes, is brilliant. You're a gift to the author community. Thank you so much. I am super excited to meet you in person at Author Nation later this year.
Looking forward. Thank you for having me.
Wow, thank you so much, Jane. I don't know about you, Nick, but man, we have all these smart people coming on here. Make me feel a little bit slow.
Hopefully, they'll drag us up a little bit closer to their level.
She's got so much information. Like there's just so much. If you're not subscribed to her newsletter, even just the free version, it's so informational.
I was super impressed when I was doing the research for the episode and going to her website and really pouring through her website, how much stuff in there. I mean, she's had it going for a long time. So there's a great, like a topic section you can go in, so you can find a general topic, and then it'll bring up so great search feature and to sort out so much resource on there that's for free. And definitely if you're looking for business coaching on the authorly business type stuff, I would definitely consider.
It's completely worth it. Yeah, I think
using Jane. Yeah,
she can't. I mean, she knows her stuff. 2001. That's been a long time to be in this business. Well, I mean, before that, that's just when she was at Writer's Digest. And I'm still impressed that they were still thinking in 2001. Maybe
that they were seeing what was coming. Yeah,
that's very intuitive, because most of the industry back then was in denial about what was coming.
Well, they were so busy putting it down, probably for the next more than 10 years, right?
Oh, easily, yeah. It was well into mid-2010s, so it started to be mainstream. So Very, very informational. So thank you guys so much again. If you can, make sure you check out. We have a great bonus question from her on Patreon. So again, if you get some, any kind of value from listening to me and Nick yammer on,
I don't think they get any value from listening to us, but our guests, we have great guests, people. Great guests. There's value.
At least once somebody laughs during this thing. They're like, oh, that was funny.
Laugh, yeah. We're entertaining, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, please jump over to patreon.com/the Two Authors Podcast. I mean, your kindness really helps us cover all the costs, bring the show to you, and, keeping Nick supplied in Cayman rum and scuba air. But big thanks, of course, to our friends over at Vellum for their continued support. Make sure you go to tryvellum.com/two authors to find out more. And we just had somebody really great send us an email and said how they got turned on to Vellum thanks to us, and we're now converted to the cult of the Brads. And so
the cult of the Brads.
So make sure you check out our show notes for all of the Vellum link, but also links for Jane's information. And we will be back next week with a new episode of the Two Authors Podcast.
Until next time, be cool to each other.
Fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Podcast with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt. Subscribe on your favorite platform for new shows coming every week.